Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone to And She Thrived, and peace and blessings upon you all. We have Lisa with us again today. Good morning, Lisa. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thank you.
That's good.
Good to be
Today
here.
we're going to be talking on the topic of non-violent communication regarding how do we do restoration or repair. Because as much as we would love to talk properly and with consideration and self-connectedness all the time, we of course fall short. And very often there's this feeling of regret of, oh man, why did I say that? I shouldn't have done that. And then how do we go about rectifying that, creating balance again?
Right. Yes. Thank you so much, Samaya. So I thought maybe we would use an example of something simple. And what's coming to my mind is I know as a single mom raising my children, sometimes I would yell at them or express myself in ways that I know was not supportive to their well-being or to our relationship. How does that sound?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. All right. So let's see. So in a moment, in a scenario, let's can you give me, just for example, since I know your children are younger than mine, you're going to have something more alive in you. Is there a moment you can just give me a quick scenario of something that your child might have done that would have stimulated you and
Yes, let's say for example, I just cleaned the house or the bathroom, and then my child might walk into the bathroom with dirty feet, and then I might just lash out and say something that is that I might yell, be aggressive, um, something of that sort, which can be on the other side. I would perceive that as being, he might perceive that as being frightening, threatening.
Right, right. That's a perfect example. So you just clean the bathroom.
Mhm.
Son walks in, he's got muddy shoes or something. Boy, this is a familiar scene actually. And so your reaction was to raise your voice. And do you remember the words that you said?
Oh gosh.
Make some up, it's
It's
fine.
not pleasant,
Oh,
because maybe
mm,
not the exact words, but the tone is aggressive and angry, and it's that it's condescension. Like, are you not thinking? Like, don't you see?
yeah.
Your feet are dirty, and I've just cleaned the bathroom, and I'm just so tired, and just look at this mess, and he's just like, oh my God, like who is this crazy lady? And he was just being a
Mm,
child and totally oblivious of what he's doing. And then
um,
afterwards, I think, oh my goodness, like this is not at all building connection. This is the exact opposite. Like this is exactly what I don't want to be doing. And then the
mm.
kind of remorse that myself or a parent might feel when we lash out like that to people that we love, especially.
Oh, yeah. Actually, that's a perfect example. Like just having that moment of reactivity and the remorse that follows after you've heard the tone of your voice and the you know and the frustration that you expressed, without.
We're just seeing like the hurt on the face. It can just take like a little change in expression the child's when you realize, oh my God, like I'm just behaving like a monster right now.
Yeah, so that's all right. So let's work with that information. So the information then, we always want to begin with OFNR. So the idea being, when I recognize what's true in this story, I want to recognize exactly what happened as it was. So there tracked some mud on the floor. You reacted with some words that what's I think one of the things you said, what's wrong with you, or what was
What are
that?
you doing? Can't you see that I've just cleaned up? Your feet are filthy. Didn't you see what your feet look like? Something like that.
Right. And then you saw his face change, and you saw something change in his face. So beginning this regret process, we just really look at, what do I feel guilty about? And when you hear that, it sounds like that change in his face gave you some information. Yeah.
Mhm.
And what what did you feel when you saw that on him?
I'd say it it brought down the intensity of that anger
Mm,
because it triggered that sense of myself, which is nurturing and caring and has high aspiration.
mhm.
So it just brought into light in that moment the schism between my value system, my aspiration, and the way that I've just interacted with him.
Right, right. So what I hear you saying is you recognize the thoughts were, wow, I see this schism between what I truly value and the behavior. And then I heard you say also you felt it's almost like a softening, the intensity of that anger drop down. Is that
Mhm.
right?
Yes, it's remorse. It's
Yeah,
remorse.
yeah,
Mm.
of course.
But it's a
So,
mixture of anger and remorse because I don't think that one can switch so rapidly. So there's a bit
yeah,
of anger, I'm all riled up because I probably adrenaline, but at the same time, there's now remorse creeping in, and that remorse would increase and increase that, oh man, like I need to fix this. I need to go and apologize.
right, great. Okay, and good. And you know, one thing about apologies, this might be a good place to say it, is we can apologize. Um, that's pretty much what we're taught in our society. And the reason why we don't, in nonviolence, the reason why we just, even though it's a gracious um, expression of humility with apologies, what NVC is trying to do is really recognize that, to remember that everything we do is in order to meet a need. And so before I jump into the apology for connection, I want to identify what needs were not met by my behavior, which in this case, it sounds like you, if I'm gonna make a needs guess, you really wanted to be a nurturing, patient mom. You want to be that your values are, you want to be conscious and supportive of his growth and well-being.
Right. And I would say it's also integrity because if one is
Yeah,
integrous, then the way that you interact will be in alignment with your values, right?
yeah. To
Mhm.
have that integrity, that's perfect. Yeah, because I see that when you said schism, there it is, that integrity.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that those needs for integrity that were not being met. And part of getting in touch with the process for this kind of regret is the hard part, which we don't do in our culture, is really the willingness to feel that grief. So you use the word remorse, and remorse is a powerful experience. It also, it holds the story of what has happened. So it really is, um, in my understanding, it's a reflection of mourning and grief,
Mm.
and
Yes.
that mourning is a need, and that means if it's a need, it's a life energy trying to express through us. So part of this experience and this process, before I jump to try to fix, is that in order for me to be very, very to be in integrity with my values and to be authentic, which is part of the true essence of nonviolence, I've got to be willing to allow that mourning and not try to push it away and fix it and make things better and clean it up. Just to really feel the impact of this. Because it has, the way I like to describe, I love this description of needs is more than just a word. It's a life energy that's trying to express through me. And when I start to shift and see that, that's what opens up my experience to allow that energy to move and not just get stuck there. If I jump to, let me fix it, say I'm sorry and move on, there's like energy that hasn't been expressed there. So the next piece of this is, um, just recognizing how you feel as you get in touch with that unmet need. So that morning, those unmet needs for integrity. And the next piece is to say, what needs was I attempting to meet?
Mm.
I made that choice that I did, and I see you smiling. So, this is the valuable information, you see. This is what we don't normally do in our culture. What is coming up for you?
Well, you mean that when I was lashing out, the need I was trying to meet was that for order,
Hmm. Yeah,
order, and what would be that word? That would be the best word I would say, because that includes like structure, cleanliness,
yeah,
systems in place. So I would say that was the need that I was trying to meet.
yeah.
Also, I don't know if this is a need, but it's also time management, because this is just going to like delay me even further.
Right, to have to redo something, if
Right.
that were your choice, if that were your only choice to redo it yourself. So time management would become in a part of resourcefulness, right? The resourcefulness of my time, how I choose to use
Yes,
my
so
time.
resourcefulness would be the right word.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so let's just pause for a moment and look at, okay, the life energy of order and resourcefulness. Are those not equally beautiful things? Like without judgments, just the energy of order and resourcefulness. This is not just a way like I'm getting off the hook. This is really about looking at the full picture, embracing the full picture.
So I do think that those are very beautiful needs. However, I do personally think that the need to be nurturing and kind supersedes that.
Right. Okay, so this is where we're going to turn, and that need to be nurturing and kind in this moment, to be understanding, to be patient. This is the need that you want to you really want to meet. So now in this situation, what I love about this expression, there's different trainers express things in different ways, and I'm learning in nonviolence, so I'm going to go with I'd like to remain as pure as possible to what Marshall says, and um, but what's coming up for me right now requires that in a conversation, the conversation that you're going to have, the inevitable conversation with your son, that this kind of repair or restoration requires responsibility for your behavior by naming what didn't work, offering empathy to them, and then making a plan to do something differently.
Okay.
So, understanding that the needs that you were trying to meet and really holding yourself with self empathy, this is a time when you can actually check in on that experience for him. Your willingness to hear how that impacted him. And it may not come in a way that you want to hear, but to open that door to understanding, this, that must have, how did you feel? You can make the guesses for your son, or you can ask them directly if they have the feelings and needs language. If they don't, you might just offer that empathetically. I'm wondering if you felt blank
So
and
would
we're needing blank.
this happen after the situation? So then I sit with the child and I do OFNR. I observe what happened. I speak about how I feel, how I feel now, how I felt while I was reacting.
Mm. Okay, you can say, I'm feeling some concern and I'm needing to reconnect with you. I'm needing to reconnect with you and check in with you. I'd like to, are you willing to do that? I'd like to know how that impacted you.
Right. So then the R would be the request that I'd like to connect with you. May I make a needs guess for how you're feeling? Are you upset, afraid, angry with me?
Yeah. And you need,
And he needs to feel safe, to feel
mm,
to be understood.
oh,
No.
wow. Those are big ones. Ooh, just take that in, a child. Having mom say, are you needing to feel safe and understood? Oh, yes. And I'm just seeing your face change, even just talking about it, because I'm noticing my own heart getting soft just hearing those words. Yeah. So that's empathy. And we have it to give when we give it to ourselves. So one of my favorite trainers, Lachelle Lachard, who is she's in Oregon on the West Coast. She really talks about naming what didn't work and making a plan to do something differently. So if we offer that kind of empathy, now there's this opening and this invitation to really.
So after I've done this needs guess, and you might say, yes, I am angry, then how do I rectify that? Because I would instinctively want to apologize, and like under normal circumstances I would have said that was not right what I did. I
Yeah.
should not have yelled. I should
Yeah.
not have spoken in angry voice. I'm really sorry. It was not okay.
Well, if if we express regret, once you provide empathy to the other and they feel that safety and understanding, there's far more capacity in the other, whether it's your child or a partner or a friend, for them to actually hear what was going on for you. This might be, mom had just cleaned the floor and I was, of course, checking in. Would you be open to hearing what mom was going on for mom? Mom had just cleaned the floor and was concerned about her energy and I regret that I spoke to you that way because understanding you and being patient with you and making sure you feel safe is very important to me.
Right. I was just going to say that, can one say, I feel very regretful because I do love you and I want you to feel safe with me. I
Yeah.
want you, I want to be a kind and caring mom.
Mm.
Why I am very grateful, because it hurts me when I see you are hurt.
Mm. Wow. So now I'm just imagining just being him right now, how that experience would be to hear my mom be so humble and open with me and to have that kind of connection with my mom. And so from this point, now this might be a place for a request. How is that to hear? Or does that, like, are you aware how much mom loves you or whatever it is?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel safer now? And then that sweet connection in that moment now, once you've established that, now you can consider some strategies. And those strategies, what do you think about what are some ways we can figure out how to avoid this? Like, do you have any ideas? How can, or maybe like it could be, there could be a million strategies for dealing. Well, what if the next time that happens, you just agree to take care of your own footsteps, or maybe mom puts a special thing on the door saying new clean floor, or just there's a million strategies, right? There's all these choices that can come from that connection.
And this reminds me a bit of, it's somehow connected to connection before correction, that principle.
Exactly. Exactly. And having that plan to do something different. Because when we get corrected, I mean, oi, yeah, we still feel the disconnection. And what you have just done by moving through that simple process, OFNR, getting to that beautiful life energy of those needs, and how important it is for you that you have trust and love and patience and understanding with your son.
Excellent.
It brings you to integrity. I hope this is helpful.
Yes, absolutely. Always insightful. Thank you so much, Nisa. You've given us a lot to practice and think about.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
It's from you all. Assalamu alaikum.